You think the problem is that you don't have enough yet, that once you get the promotion, the better apartment, the car paid off, the savings account with a certain number, then you'll be ready. Then you'll be worthy of someone's attention, someone's time, someone's love. And yes, resources matter, stability matters, but that's not what broken actually means. You can have money and still be broken. You can have status and still be broken. You can look successful on paper and still be operating from a place so fractured that bringing someone into your life right now would be like inviting them into a house with no foundation. Everything looks fine until the weight of real intimacy causes the whole structure to collapse. Broken isn't about what you lack externally. It's about what's unresolved internally. And until you understand that distinction, you'll keep making the same mistake, thinking a relationship will fix what only solitude and honest self-examination can address. Here's what happens when you date while broken. You don't show up as yourself, you show up as a performance of what you think someone wants. You're so desperate to be chosen, so afraid of being alone, so convinced that having someone will prove you're okay, that you mold yourself into whatever shape seems most likely to be accepted. You agree to things you don't actually want. You hide parts of yourself that feel too raw or too damaged. You pretend to be further along in your healing than you are because admitting the truth feels like disqualifying yourself. And for a while it works. Someone is interested, someone is staying, someone seems to like this version of you. But it's not actually you. It's a construct built from fear and need, and eventually that construct cracks. You can't maintain it forever. The real you, the hurt you, the confused you, the angry you, starts leaking through. And suddenly the person who seemed so into you is pulling back, confused about who you actually are, disappointed that you're not who they thought, and you're left feeling even more broken than before because now you have evidence that even when you try your hardest, you still get rejected. But the rejection isn't about your worth. It's about the impossibility of the situation you created. You asked someone to love a version of you that doesn't exist while hiding the version that does. You built a relationship on a foundation of inauthenticity and then felt betrayed when it couldn't hold weight. And the cycle repeats because you never stop long enough to ask the harder question, who am I when I'm not performing, when I'm not trying to be loved, when I'm just here with myself and whatever pain I'm carrying, and what does that person actually need before they're ready to let someone else in? Dating while broken also means you attract the wrong people for the wrong reasons. When you're operating from emptiness, you're drawn to anyone who offers the illusion of filling it. You mistake attention for affection, intensity for intimacy, someone being interested for someone being right. You ignore red flags because you're so grateful someone is staying. You tolerate things you shouldn't tolerate because being alone feels worse than being mistreated. And the people who are drawn to you in this state, they're often not the people who want to see you whole. They're people who benefit from your brokenness, who feel more secure when you're insecure, who need you to stay a little bit damaged so they can play the role of savior, or so they never have to confront their own issues because they're too busy managing yours. You think you're building a relationship, but you're actually constructing a dynamic where both people are using each other to avoid dealing with themselves. And that's not love, that's mutual escapism. Then there's the dependency problem. When you're broken and in a relationship, that person becomes your emotional crutch. They become the thing you lean on instead of doing the work to stand on your own. You use their validation to feel okay about yourself, their presence to avoid sitting with your own thoughts, their attention to distract from the pain you haven't processed. And it feels like love because it feels necessary. You need them. They're important. Losing them would devastate you. But need isn't the same as love. Need is what happens when you outsource your emotional stability to someone else, and it's exhausting for both people. You become a weight they have to carry, and they become a lifeline you can't let go of, and eventually, one of you breaks under the pressure. Usually them, because carrying someone else's unresolved pain while trying to live your own life is unsustainable. And when they leave, you don't just lose a relationship, you lose the entire structure you were using to hold yourself together, and the collapse is devastating because you never built an internal foundation. This is why people say, work on yourself first, not because you need to be perfect, not because you need to have everything figured out, but because you need to be able to stand alone before you can walk with someone else. You need to know who you are outside of someone's perception of you. You need to have processed enough of your pain that it's not dictating every decision you make. You need to have built enough internal stability that another person's presence enhances your life instead of defining it. And that takes time, that takes honesty, that takes sitting with discomfort instead of running toward the first person who makes you feel less alone. It also means confronting what actually broke you in the first place. Maybe it was a past relationship that ended badly. Maybe it was rejection that confirmed fears you already had about yourself. Maybe it was something older, something from childhood, some wound that never healed and now colors every interaction you have. Whatever it is, dating doesn't fix it. Dating just adds another person to the equation who now has to navigate your unprocessed trauma, and that's not fair to them or to you. They didn't sign up to be your therapist, and you didn't sign up to spend the relationship fighting ghosts from your past instead of being present with the person in front of you. Healing isn't something another person can do for you. It's something you have to choose for yourself, and sometimes that means choosing to be alone for a while, not as punishment, but as an act of self-respect. Being alone when you're broken is terrifying because it means facing everything you've been avoiding. It means sitting with the silence and hearing all the thoughts you've been drowning out, with distraction and connection and constant motion. It means looking at yourself honestly and seeing the parts that are still hurt, still angry, still afraid. But it's also the only way forward. You can't heal what you won't acknowledge, and you can't acknowledge it when you're using someone else to numb the pain. Solitude isn't the enemy. It's the container where real transformation happens, where you stop performing and start processing, where you stop running and start rebuilding. And here's the paradox. The version of you that emerges from that process, the one who's done the work, who's faced the pain, who's learned to stand alone, that's the version of you that's actually ready for a healthy relationship. Not because you're fixed, not because you have no more issues, but because you're no longer looking for someone to complete you. You're looking for someone to walk beside you, someone who complements the life you've already built instead of filling a void that never should have been their responsibility. That shift changes everything. You stop attracting fixers and start attracting partners. You stop tolerating dysfunction and start recognizing compatibility. You stop needing and start choosing. And the relationships that emerge from that place, they're built on something real, not on desperation or performance or unspoken need, but on two people who are whole enough to be honest, stable enough to be vulnerable, and clear enough to know what they're actually building together. So if you're broken right now, if you're carrying pain you haven't processed, if you're using the idea of a relationship to avoid dealing with yourself, do the harder thing. Stay single, not forever, not as punishment, but as an investment in the person you're becoming. Work on yourself not so you can be perfect for someone else, but so you can be present with yourself. Build a life that feels stable, even when no one else is in it. Learn to sit with your own thoughts without needing someone to validate them. Face the parts of you that are still hurt and give them the attention they need to heal. And when you finally do meet someone, when you're ready to let them in, you'll be offering them something real. Not a performance, not a project, but a person who knows who they are and has chosen to share that with someone else. That's the relationship worth having, and it's only possible when you're willing to do the work alone first.